All right, Larry Krueger here at Levi's for our Pig in a Pickle Krug Show 49er recap of Thursday's practice. Now, today was a Wednesday schedule, which means nothing to any of you guys, but we're down here on a Thursday. That means an early practice. And injury-wise, Deebo Samuel didn't practice. He's still banged up with a shoulder injury. Aaron Banks did not practice. Drake Greenlaw did not practice. Greenlaw is still dinged up. Christian McCaffrey is not. They said Kyle told us he doesn't have a rib. He does not have a rib injury. It's an oblique injury, but he still did not practice. Trent Williams with the ankle, he didn't practice. And so there you go. Those are the guys who didn't practice: Deebo, Banks, Greenlaw, Christian McCaffrey, and Trent Williams. Some really good players there. All those guys are day to day. We'll find out more tomorrow as far as their status for Monday night against the Vikings. Now, Isaiah Oliver was limited in practice. We did see him on the sideline running, getting ready, doing some conditioning, but he did not practice. Elijah Mitchell with the knee injury. Kyle Shanahan says he's a full go. He's a full go and ready for Monday night. Whether CMC is healthy or not, whether he goes Monday night or not, I expect to see a lot more of Jordan Mason and Elijah Mitchell in this game. Either way, either McCaffrey's going to gut it out and he'll be injured and he'll play anyway, but then I think he'll be limited, and I think we're going to see a lot of Mason and a lot of Mitchell. I think that's pretty clear. Another couple interesting notes today from down here in 49er land. The NFL odds, the trade deadline's coming up in a couple weeks. NFL odds have the Niners have the third best odds to land Washington defensive end Chase Young, which it would be a very interesting pickup. Chase Young, of course, played with Nick Bosa at Ohio State, and what a fantastic pass rusher he is. The Commanders didn't pick up his fifth-year option. His status is kind of up in the air. That would be a very interesting pickup. If the Niners have already picked up Randy Gregory, they passed on the idea of going after Frank Clark, but would they have interest in Chase Young? That one is something to be to watch in the next week to 10 days. Brock Purdy went on the Rich Eisen show, and he was asked about whether or not the whole system quarterback thing, and I thought his answer was really interesting. He says, "I really don't care. People can say that if they want. I just want to help this team win and reach our goals." And then he said at the end, "We'll see at the end of all of this if that's true or not, that I'm a system quarterback," which I thought was really the most interesting part of the answer. It's like, you can say you don't care, and I don't think he cares a lot, but at the same time, when you say we'll see at the end of all of all of this if that's true or not, that's kind of like, what, screw you and your system quarterback idea. And if you think I'm a system quarterback, you just wait and see. So I did have a chance to ask Kyle Shanahan today what he thought of Brock's performance. He said he didn't think it was one of Brock's better performances, which it clearly wasn't. But that there was some good that was there as well, and he didn't seem to think it was an overwhelmingly negative performance. It is funny, all the people that are kind of joking about, will Shanahan jump from Purdy to Darnold? I don't see that happening anytime soon. Also had a chance to go in the locker room and talk to Jake Brendel, and I asked Brendel about the pregame scuffle involving Deebo and Ayuk and Browns players, and I said, "Hey, Trent Williams got involved, and Josh and Aaron Banks got involved." I said, "Were you involved in any of that?" And he's like, "I'm not really a fighter per se. I like to do my aggression, show my aggression on the football field." But he also seemed to think that the 49ers would bounce back off of this loss, that he was anticipating a good week of practice. It's interesting, too, in talking to Brendel, he says that they're so good now with the film that these guys have the film from the game from their film guys and are studying it before they even board the plane. So, think about that for a second. It used to be you didn't get the film for at least 24 hours and you weren't seeing it for the next day until, a day later. Now, these guys are not only seeing it on the flight, they're seeing it on the way to the airport, to take the flight. So, a lot of guys obviously had that entire long flight back from Cleveland to digest what they saw and kind of talk amongst themselves about, how they want to correct things. It just kind of shows you how with technology everything's sped up. I also asked Fred Warner, what the mood was like on the flight and what he wanted to see at practice, and he just seemed to think that this team would bounce back, and that guys would huddled on the flight and talked a little bit about the loss to the Browns, and it wasn't any one thing. I also asked him about Dre Greenlaw. I said, it was did you guys miss Greenlaw? And he's like, no offense to Oren Burks or Demetrius Flanagan-Fowles, but Greenlaw is a special player, and kind of admitted that, absolutely they missed Greenlaw, and hopefully they'll get Greenlaw back Monday night against Alexander Mattison and the Minnesota Vikings. And then one other note that I thought was interesting today, I saw the odds for the top 5 or the top candidates for NFL Coach of the Year, and outside of Dan Campbell of the Lions, who's on this list, the rest of these guys are all Niners or ex-Niners. There's Mike McDaniel of the Dolphins. There is DeMeco Ryans, who's now in Houston. There's Kyle Shanahan, who's obviously the head coach of the 49ers, and Robert Saleh, the head coach of the Jets. So, man, if you're Kyle Shanahan, or if you're, a 49er organizational person and you're looking at that, you're going, wow, all the top, everybody on the Shanahan tree, including Shanahan, so Saleh, Ryans, and McDaniel, in addition to Kyle, are all up for Coach of the Year, and the only non-Kyle tree candidate is Dan Campbell. Just kind of goes to show how well these coaches are doing. Mike McDaniel's done an amazing job on the offensive side in Miami. DeMeco Ryans, I think, is probably going to win the Coach of the Year award as the defensive coach in Houston, and they're playing exceptionally well. Robert Saleh lost Aaron Rodgers at the beginning of the year, but the Jets have rebounded and are playing well. And then you've got the Niners, who may be the best team in football. So of the 5 top candidates for Coach of the Year, 4 of them are either Niners or with direct ties to the 49ers. So it was an interesting locker room today as well, very upbeat. This is a professional football team, and they've got designs on winning it all, and they seem like they're not negatively affected by that loss to the Browns, and that the expectation is that they will bounce back on Monday night against the Minnesota Vikings. It's going to be a challenge because the Vikings do blitz at a very high percentage. In fact, I was looking up some of the numbers today. The NFL blitz average is 26.3%. NFL defenses blitz on an average of 26.3%. To put that in perspective, Minnesota, in their last game, blitzed 71.9%, so almost 72% of the time. So similar to that Giants game a few weeks ago where Wink Martindale brought a ton of blitzes, you could expect the 49er offensive line and Brock Purdy to have to cope with a lot of blitzes, which usually means that an edge rusher like Danielle Hunter is going to get some one-on-one matchups. The big injury to watch for this week, in my mind, is Trent Williams because of that. Can Trent go? If not, it's Jalen Moore, and obviously that's a big difference there. Do you go with Jalen Moore, or do you go with maybe the best left tackle in pro football against Danielle Hunter? So that's something to watch, and we'll know more about that tomorrow. The other question I asked Kyle today is, Christian McCaffrey is on pace for almost 400 touches. And I asked him if it's sustainable. Now, he downplayed it, saying that, hey, he's a starting running back, and in addition, they throw him the ball. But I think it's safe to say that that is not sustainable over the course of the season, and that the 49ers are going to have to figure out their depth plan, whether that's Elijah Mitchell, who Kyle said was a full go this week, or J.P. Mason, or Ty Davis-Price. The Niners are going to have to lean on some other people besides Christian McCaffrey in that backfield. All right, thanks to Pig and a Pickle for being the title sponsor of The Krug Show. Thanks to all you guys for supporting The Krug Show on YouTube.